Okay, good morning all of you. In today's session, of acids, bases and salts, we are going to discuss properties of acids, chemical properties of acids. So, suppose if you take a metal like magnesium, zinc or iron and react it with dilute HCl or dilute H2SO4, either dilute HCl or dilute H2SO4, so you will get a salt of the metal plus hydrogen gas. Now, all the metals are not equally reactive. There is something called metal reactivity series. So at some point of time we will talk about that. But if you look at these three metals, magnesium, zinc and iron, magnesium is more reactive than zinc, zinc is more reactive than iron. So in these three reactions, the reactivity will not be of equal intensity. Magnesium will react vigorously, zinc less vigorously, iron even less vigorously. And of course there are people like sodium, potassium, calcium more reactive than zinc, magnesium, they will react even more vigorously. These acids are dilute. Second thing is that in this reaction, reaction of acid with metal, actually there is a problem of nitric acid. Now nitric acid has got a very big issue, that nitric acid is not only a good acid, it's a very strong oxidizing agent. So if you try to use nitric acid in this reaction, the problem is that instead of hydrogen, it will give some other gas like NO2 or NO, some gas and not hydrogen. The reason is that nitric acid has a oxidizing nature, and in these reactions it will be the oxidizing nature which will dominate. However, if you take very dilute nitric acid like 1% dilute and react it with manganese or magnesium, not any other metal, either manganese or magnesium. Okay, so you have to take very dilute nitric acid and react with manganese or magnesium, then you will get the response, either manganese or magnesium, no other metal, and very dilute nitric acid. So this is the first chemical property. Then chemical property number 2, Okay, the second reaction is that all acids react with bases. Now, what do you define as bases? I have already told you, anything that is capable of producing hydroxyl ion is a base. Otherwise, metal oxides are also base. So, copper oxide is a metal oxide, it's a base. NaOH is a substance capable of producing OH minus, so it is a base. So, acid plus base will give us salt plus water. That means from the acid, hydrogen will come out, and from the base, oxygen or OH, whichever, will come out and produce water, and the remaining will combine to give us salt. This is number 2. Number 3, acids will react with carbonate. Acids will react with carbonate. Acids will react with carbonate and bicarbonate, CaCO3 or CHCO3 all twice. Carbonate and bicarbonate. Acid will react with carbonate or bicarbonate to produce carbon dioxide gas, right? And there is another thing that the salt which is produced, it has to be soluble. If the salt produced is insoluble, this reaction will not happen. So this reaction will not happen with lead carbonate, and this reaction will not happen with calcium chloride and calcium carbonate and H2SO4, right? So just I am repeating again, this reaction will not happen if the salt which is produced is insoluble. So if you use lead carbonate, it will not happen. If you use calcium carbonate but with H2SO4, it will not happen, because this one and this one will produce insoluble salt. Now just like in this reaction, carbonate bicarbonate is giving CO2. So in the same way, if you use sulfite, okay, sulfite, SULPHITE, if you use sulfite, then you will get SO2. Okay, if you use sulfite like CaSO3 and NHSO3, you will get SO2. Then number 5 is reaction with sulfides. So zinc sulfide, SULPHIDE, will give zinc chloride plus H2S. And similarly, iron sulfide plus H2SO4 will give FeSO4 plus H2S, right? Okay, so what we will do is that there are some more chemical properties of acids, but we will only do these 5. There are some more chemical properties of acids, but in this session we will only do these 5. So acids, they react with metals to produce salt plus hydrogen, right? But in decreasing order of intensity depending on the reactivity of the metal. Number 1. Number 2, nitric acid, only when it is very dilute, reacts with manganese and magnesium. Otherwise nitric acid tends to give oxidized product like NO2 or NO. Base plus acid gives salt plus water. Base can be metal oxide or hydroxide. Carbonate and bicarbonate plus acid gives salt plus water plus CO2. But if the salt is insoluble, like PbCO3 or CaCO3 plus H2SO4, then the reaction will not happen. Number 4, just like number 3, you can use sulfide and bisulfide to give salt plus H2O plus SO2 instead of CO2. And number 5, sulfide, like zinc sulfide, iron sulfide with acid gives salt plus H2S gas. So these are the 5 chemical properties of acids, and in the next session we will continue with the remaining chemical properties of acids. I'll end this session. Okay, your homework. Your homework is that all the reactions that I have written, some of them are balanced, some of them are not. So your homework is whatever reactions I have written, you have to write it in a copy with balancing and send it. That is your homework, right? I'll end the session now.